Afternoon. My name is Priscilla Rojas, and I am the chair of the BPDA Board. Thank you for joining the June 12th, 2025 Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston Board meeting. At this time, the Boston Planning and Development Agency is hosting public meetings in a hybrid setting for both the health, safety, and accessibility of Boston residents. Hybrid means that our board meetings are conducted in person at City Hall in our boardroom on the 9th floor and virtually via Zoom and Boston City TV. For more information and updates, please visit bostonplans.org. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications at Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and Verizon Fios Channel 962. It's also being live streamed at boston.gov/cable. Now, if there's anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting, will you please kindly identify yourself now? Okay, seeing none. So to begin this meeting, we will take a roll call. Mr. Shepherd.
Present.
Dr. Landsmark.
Present.
Mr. O'Malley.
Present.
And the chair, Priscilla Rojas. I'm here. Right. Item number 1, request authorization for the approval of the minutes of the May 15th, 2025 board meeting. A motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 2, request authorization to extend the license agreement with Mass Bay Brewing Company Incorporated for the temporary change in the use of parcel S3 in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park to operate as an outdoor hospitality space between June 2025 and December 31st, 2025. Maureen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Since 1987, Harpoon has been located at 306 Northern Ave in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. Since March of 2020, the BPDA board has approved license agreements to temporarily change the use of parcel S3 of the leasehold area. It's approximately 27,450 square feet to operate a hospitality space. The license has been extended annually since then. Currently, Harpoon is requesting to reopen the outdoor space and to host Hub Sports Boston Adult Pickleball through 2025. The license fees for the hospitality space will be calculated at 12.5% of all gross revenue collected from all activities on parcel S3. If Harpoon charges a fee to a third-party vendor to park on the site or otherwise engages in a profit share arrangement, then the BPDA is entitled to 15% of revenue collected. Hub Sports will be paying a monthly fee to Harpoon, of which the BPDA is entitled to 15% of revenue collected. Additionally, the hospitality space will operate simultaneously on parcel S3, and license fees shall be collected at 12.5% of all gross revenue. Lastly, Harpoon will be allowed to use the hospitality space during each of the allowed festival events according to the lease for a fee of $1,500 per festival event. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maureen. You're going to make me a very popular wife because my husband loves pickleball, so super excited. Okay, item number 3, request authorization to extend the tentative designation status with a joint venture between Lincoln Property Company and Quaker Lane Capital for the long-term lease and redevelopment of Parcel U located at 7 Channel Street in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park for 6 months ending December 31st, 2025. Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. 7 Channel Street, also known as Parcel U, is located in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. The approximately 45,000 square foot site includes a 2-story building of approximately 27,000 square feet that previously housed Stavis Seafoods and has been vacant for several years. On June 8, 2022, the BPDA issued the RFP for the site to capture opportunities offered by Boston's life science lab market in this location. The RFP required proponents to include 2 development scenarios in their submitted proposals, one of which would include the additional requirement for the delivery of a core and shell space within the development for community and/or government use. The BPDA anticipated that under this Program B, the space may serve as a Boston fire station for the Marine Park and the greater South Boston Seaport neighborhood. Lincoln Property Company and Quaker Lane Capital, the selected proponent, proposed an approximately 240,000 square foot site, 9-floor building with office and lab space. The proposed building will is proposed to include a 2-floor firehouse on the ground floor and first floor. The ground floor is proposed to also include a cafe, co-working space, lobby, loading, utilities, and storage. Since the initial tentative designation award, Lincoln/Quaker Lane have been in active negotiations with the BPDA staff on terms of the ground lease for the redevelopment of the site. They've also been in coordination with the BPDA on starting the Article 80 process, and they have had one pre-file meeting. During the next 6-month extension, or the requested 6-month extension, the developer must provide evidence of necessary financing equity, undergo BPDA design review and the BPDA Article 80 process, and enter into an agreement with the City of Boston through the Fire Department. To be awarded final designation, building permits must be ready for issuance, and the terms and conditions of a ground lease must be fully negotiated, in addition to obtaining any other necessary approvals required for the project to succeed. Therefore, staff recommends extending tentative designation for 6 months. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Item number 4, request authorization to execute a contract with ICF Incorporated for consultant services providing support to Greater Boston Climate Resilience Jobs Alliance partners for a term of up to 3 years and an aggregate amount not to exceed $145,000 and a 1-year extension option to be solely exercised by the director. Jody.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. My name's Jody. I am a deputy chief in the City of Boston Worker Empowerment Cabinet, which includes the Office of Workforce Development. Today, I'm here to request authorization to execute a contract with ICF Inc. for consultant services providing support to the Greater Boston Climate Resilience Jobs Alliance partners for up to 3 years in an aggregate amount not to exceed $145,000 during the first 3 contract years, and an option to renew the contract for 1 year as deemed necessary by the director. In August 2024, the Economic Development Industrial Corporation was awarded $9.8 million Climate Ready Workforce Grant from the Department of Commerce's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, or NOAA, for the City of Boston Office of Workforce Development to create the Boston Climate Jobs Alliance, a coalition of 30 stakeholders, including training providers, educators, service providers, community engagement partners, climate experts, and employers. The Alliance's work is aimed at filling approximately 1,200 jobs committed by 13 employers in family-sustaining coastal and climate resilience occupations over 4 years. Workers trained through the Alliance will be placed in jobs that help advance coastal resiliency strategies. At the February 13th board meeting, the Office of Workforce Development requested and received the board's authorization to issue a publicly advertised request for proposals, RFP, to procure professional consultant services for a climate expert to advise and support the Boston Climate Jobs Alliance. This team will provide technical assistance to Alliance partners and contribute to the achievement of project goals, which include training and placing Boston residents into good quality jobs and advancing coastal resilience. The RFP was issued on March 17, 2025, and 3 firms submitted proposals in response to the RFP. After a review of the technical and fee proposals received, the Office of Workforce Development now seeks approval to select the recommended vendor. OWD recommends ICF Inc. as the consultant to provide technical climate support to Alliance partners. ICF Inc.'s proposal describes a clear and comprehensive plan that addresses and complies with all core elements and required submissions stated in the RFP and demonstrates a complete understanding of the key issues and objectives. The proposal clearly summarizes the consultant team's understanding of the project's goals and deliverables and how its approach, experience, and relationships would successfully achieve these goals and deliverables. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Really excited about this. Let's take a vote. A motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Item number 5, request authorization to issue an invitation for bids for snow removal, salting, and sanding services within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park for the contract term of 3 years. Lauren.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, I'm here before you today to request approval for EDIC to be permitted to solicit bids pursuant to Chapter 30 of the Massachusetts General Law to advertise a contract opportunity for snow clearing services within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. The scope of services for this project will include all necessary supervision, labor, materials, equipment, transportation, and related services necessary for plowing, shoveling, salting, sanding, and removing snow during snow emergencies. This IFB will be publicly advertised with local newspapers, on the BPDA's website, the statewide Combi system, the State Goods and Services Bulletin, and through other channels as appropriate. The resulting contract will be awarded to the responsible and responsive bidder with the lowest total bid price for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year options. Funding for this project will be from the BPDA's fiscal year 26 operating budget. The cost is not expected to exceed $705,000 for the initial 3-year term. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Item number 6, request authorization to execute a contract with ABM Industry Groups LLC for janitorial services at 12 Channel Street for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year extension options and a total contract amount not to exceed $1,077,312. Lauren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm here now to present the award for the bid for the janitorial services at 12 Channel Street. 12 Channel Street is a 9-floor, 357,749 square foot building owned by the BPDA, located within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. The commercial janitorial company that has won the bid, ABM, will be responsible to clean and maintain 12 Channel Street, as well as to remove snow from the immediate surrounding building area, loading dock, and exterior stairs. In response to the IFB issued on April 14th, 2025, the BPDA received and opened 11 responses on April 30th, 2025. Of the 11 proposals submitted, ABM Industry Groups LLC was deemed to be highly advantageous overall because of their depth of experience with facilities similar to 12 Channel Street, including the China Trade Center in recent years. The resulting contract of $620,889 will be for an initial term of 3 years. And if both one-year extension options are exercised, the total value will be $1,077,312. I messed that up.
No, it's what you guys
apologize.
do to me all the time with
I
these
know,
numbers.
I was just like, oh, we do this to a poor Priscilla all the time. Thank you. This contract will be funded through the BPDA's fiscal year 26 operating budget and is considered an ongoing operation cost to maintain the cleanliness of 12 Channel Street. Thank you.
That's good. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just a brief one, Madam Chair. Thanks, Lauren. So when we solicit these bids, and I have no issues with ABM, they'll be great, I'm sure, and I know you guys do all the due diligence, but just given the sheer number of buildings and sort of these one-offs, do we ever try to group them together to try to leverage that for a better deal?
So yes, we generally try to do that. It's a little complicated when you have BRA and EDIC properties, which is why I show up at both parts of the board for most contracts. But in this case, this is a new contract for 12 Channel Street. So it was out of cycle with the BRA RFPs. But as we move forward with the planning department and the changes within the BPDA as a whole, I think the intent is to make sure that we can consolidate where we can and make good decisions
Yeah,
going forward.
and believe me, I understand the complexities of this structure make it very difficult. And I think we're saying the same things here. The fact that there were 11 bids over a couple-week period shows that this is interest. This is a contract I think many firms would want to have. So anyway, we could leverage the desire to win a city contract for janitorial services to perhaps bundle it with other buildings, I think is a great way to save money for the taxpayers and make sure we continue to get great vendors.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Item number 7, request to execute contracts with Daigle Electrical Construction Corporation, McKay Construction Services Incorporated, Fleming Brothers Incorporated, ACK Marine and General Contracting LLC, Patrick J. Kennedy and Sons, Inc., M. Neves, Inc., Hub Glass Services, High Rise Consolidated Services, JEWN Enterprises, Inc., and Premier Fence Custom Design and Fabricators for general repairs and maintenance services on an as-needed basis for EDIC-owned properties in an annual aggregate amount not to exceed $800,000. That was an easier number to read. Lauren.
There was a lot more people to add in. Thank you. I'm here to request authorization to award contracts to the lowest responsible and responsive bidders for the General Repair and Maintenance Services, IFB. The BPDA's Real Estate Department is responsible for over 13 million square feet of real estate across the city of Boston, including several properties and building facilities. The work of our operations department is supported by a variety of contractors across specialized trades. Our goal is to put contracts in place with a diverse group of contractors to make it easier to provide necessary repair and maintenance services as needed. These as-needed contracts allow the BPDA operations team to be more strategic and proactive and to respond more quickly to urgent needs. In response to the IFB issued on April 14, 2025, the BPDA received and opened bids from 11 firms across 14 categories. Contracts will be awarded for each category of service, with separate contracts for EDIC-owned properties and BRA-owned properties. Each awarded contract will be for a term of 3 years. Funding for the project will be from the BPDA's fiscal year 26 budget, and staff doesn't expect the aggregate value to exceed $800,000. I'm happy to go into more detail if you like, but you have the list in front of you, so if you have any questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
Item number 8, request approval of the fiscal year 2026 operating budget of the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation, the EDIC, in the expense amount of $55,370,348, and approval for the fiscal year 2026 capital expenditures amount of $5 million. Approval of the transfer of funds for forgiveness of interagency debt and leasing property and assets between the EDI from the Economic and Industrial Corporation of Boston and the Boston Redevelopment Authority, the Boston Local Development Corporation, and the Boston Industrial Development Finance Authority. Also, approval to enter into any sublease for space, sublease amendments or extensions. Authorization to take actions and execute documents and agreements relating to the transfer in and expenditure of expenditure or transfer of funds out of the Capital Reserve Fund, and approval to execute any and all notices, correspondence, documents, or agreements to or with employees and others as the director determines to be in the best interest of the EDIC. Dylan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, my name is Dylan Darcy, and I'm the Senior Budget Manager. Today, I'll be seeking approval of the fiscal year 26 BPDA operating and capital budget. Although we are in the EDIC portion of the agenda, I'll be presenting a combined look at the BPDA. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will seek a vote for the EDIC budget, and there'd be another vote in the BRA agenda. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This slide is a total overview of the budget request. This chart is also comparing the fiscal year 25 approved budget to the recommended fiscal year 26 budget. The revenue budget is $80.3 million, which is a total decrease of $4.6 million from last year's total. Beginning with the rental and lease revenue, the budget for this category is $41.4 million, which is a decrease of $1.2 million from FY25. This budget reflects some adjustments made to certain revenue sources, such as additional rent items that were held in our budget last year. Some of these specific transactions did not occur, and we will no longer be carrying these items in our budget. This decrease is offset by scheduled increases in long-term leases and short-term rental income, leading to a total decrease that I mentioned of $1.2 million. Moving to the next revenue category of grant income, this category is made up of OWD grants and the city-funded capital grants. OWD has shifted about $9 million of revenue and expenses out of the agency's budget for FY26, leading to a large decrease from FY25. For BRA and EDIC grant income, we have increased our projections of city capital grants to tie directly to the cash flow provided by the city's budget team. The change for these two items has created an overall decrease of $4.1 million from the FY25 budget. The decrease in OWD grant revenue will also be reflected by a decrease in their expenses when we move to the expense budget. Park and revenue will continue to be a strong revenue source for the agency. There's an increase of $300,000 to reflect trends and adjustments for the next fiscal year. The sale of real estate and equity participation categories remain unchanged from FY25. These revenue sources are based on historical performance and structured payments that help project the totals. The last revenue highlight is the other income category. This is driven by the agency's investments. It continues to do well, and I have made adjustments based on the performance of these funds for the last few years. The FY26 budget for other income has increased by $400,000. To summarize, the revenue budget is strong, and we are confident in these totals, and will closely monitor them throughout the fiscal year. Moving to the lower half of this chart, I'll go over the BPDA expense budget. The total expense budget is $80.1 million, which is a decrease of $4.6 million from last year. Personnel expenses are budgeted to decrease by $1.2 million, mainly due to the changes within the OWD budget. OWD has shifted a total of $1.5 million in contract and full-time employees to the city payroll. EDIC has a slight increase in full-time employees, interns, and contracts to reflect current salaries and headcounts of these groups. Employee benefits are based on the total personnel budget, so with the decrease of personnel expenses, that leads to a decrease in employee benefits. The contractual services decrease of $6.6 million is directly tied to the shifting of grant income from OWD to the city cabinet for the community program expenses that I had mentioned when going over the grant income category. The main driver for the expense budget is the BPDA financial transfer for the planning cabinet. I brought the financial transfer to this board in April for authorization. The total increase is due to the pension liability of $9 million that is due to the city for the next fiscal year. This large increase was offset by decreases for certain line items totaling $3.5 million, for a total increase of $5.5 million compared to fiscal year 2025. Continuing on to the property management line, this decrease is due to a one-time project of $900,000 that was budgeted for FY25 and is no longer needed in the FY26 budget. The existing budget items for property management remain unchanged. The administrative service category decrease is due to some of these items moving to the planning department budget or moving to the city with the OWD grant funding. This includes advertising on the BRA side and then program administrative costs of almost $1 million on the OWD side. Next slide. This slide highlights the major revenue sources a little closer. This shows how much we depend on our leases and parking operations to support the agency's revenue budget. Rental revenue and parking revenue total $57.6 million out of the $80.3 million total, which makes up about 72%. Grant income continues to decrease due to the shifting of these funding sources to the city, and the bottom three are the usual categories here and remain unchanged. Next slide, please.
Can you remind me real quick what equity participation means?
So those are the 2% resale of usually down the Charlestown Navy Yard.
Got it. Sorry if I threw you off.
No, you're good. It's next slide. Yeah, no, I'm good. This next slide highlights the expense categories. The financial transfer of $46.3 million makes up 58% of the total budget, followed by our property management and regular contractual services. The bottom three here continue to change year to year due to shifting of costs to the city department. Next slide, please. And next slide. Cool. I will now go into our capital construction budget request for FY26. Beginning with the BRA projects, this year we are requesting approval for 2 BRA projects for a total of $5.8 million. The first one is the Charlestown Navy Yard Flagship Wharf Bulkhead Restoration. This project will restore the bulkhead between Pier 4 and Pier 5 down the Navy Yard. This project was included in our budget request to the city, and they approved funding of $4 million for it. The next project is the China Trade Building roof replacement. This project budget is $1.8 million. There have been many projects happening at the China Trade Building over the last few years. During a recent assessment of the roof, the roof was inspected. The issues that were discovered include structural problems, leaking, and life safety issues, leading to a recommendation to replace the roof entirely. Moving on to the EDIC projects, this request is for 2 projects totaling $5 million. The first project is the Sail Boston berthing. This project was submitted to the city as part of our FY26 budget request, and the agency received funding of $3 million for it. This project will provide improvements and capital repairs to the piers and wharfs in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park and the Navy Yard. The last item is the physical security infrastructure project. This project has a budget of $2 million and is a total revamp of our current security system on our properties. This project will not only replace our current system, but allow additional monitoring and security services. The total capital budget request for the agency is $10.8 million, with a total of $7 million coming from the city capital budget. The remaining $3.8 will be funded by the BPDA. Next slide. And that concludes my presentation. I am happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I'll start. Dylan, would you actually go back to the last slide, please, or whoever's driving the deck? So I'm just curious, this is great. The city's picking up almost twice what the BPDA is putting in. What's sort of the rationale? Is it, there's two projects each, one the BPDA or BRA pays, the other the city does. Is it just we sort of flip a coin? Is there any rationale behind how that determination is made?
So going into, we have a lot of active projects right now.
Yeah.
And so going into this fiscal year, I think kind of the direction was, let's get some of the projects that are in the works, going, RFPs and things like that. So kind of didn't want to, request additional projects. So these two are kind of emergency projects that the BPDA is funding. The roof replacement is like a life safety issue,
Yeah, no,
needs to happen.
Totally get it. Did we only request those two? Or did we request city funding for all four?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we did not request city funding for China Trade building, roof replacement, or the security infrastructure. The other two, we did, and we were granted it.
Okay. Why wouldn't we request more?
We did make a larger request. Those two projects that we're funding weren't on that request, and we only were authorized two projects from the city this year.
Okay.
So I think our request was, probably 5 or 6 projects to the city during that budget.
Okay.
And it was basically, if the city, it was their priority. So these two were the ones that they said yes to.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Additional questions?
Could you go back a slide or two? There's under sale of real estate. There's a $3.4 million line item, which is identical to the prior year, I believe.
Yeah.
Given the volatility of the real estate market, how do you come up with that estimate?
So that category name is a little confusing. It's based on kind of structured payments. So for an example, Rose Wharf is paying back, and it's a notes receivable, structured payments back to real estate transactions that have happened. We're not going out and selling property, which, that kind of seems like, but it's the cell station air rights deal, things of that are just structured payments. So it's the same for a couple years until it winds down based on the agreement.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I have some questions on, super clear, in a really great memo. I did want to go through a little bit, if you could walk through the interagency funding. I thought this was beautifully written, and as well as the personnel employee termination procedures section, just so we, that's included in the presentation since it's.
So the interagency funding, it's always existed in the past years. It was.
Well, for the record.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure it out too.
On the interagency, that would be a grant from EDIC to BRA if needed. So we actually, there isn't a budget for it this year. In the past, there has been kind of the way that with the city, the planning department, and we're sending money that way. It's just to have it in there if we did need a transfer of funds between EDIC to BRA or vice versa, depending on what's going on. But
And how do we anticipate that, obviously we're still waiting for the thing at the State House, right? How does that, how will that impact the need for this or?
for the interagency.
Yeah, like the interagency, like what?
So, I think part of my job is trying to build a balanced budget. In the past, there hasn't been balanced budget. The BRA was running a deficit. We've kind of shifted those with EDIC transferring to the city and, funds to the city. So BRA is a balanced budget as of the last few years, so that kind of takes it. The budget is not balanced by the interagency transfer, how sometimes it used to be.
Yeah.
So that's the first step, and then it kind of, as the year goes on, if revenue doesn't come in and expenses continue the way that they're budgeted, there may be a need for, an end of the year true-up. Yeah.
And then finally, the personnel section, can someone just, go through what that means and
not
what
sure if-
authority that we're delegating on that?
Sure, so,
That later, or,
I'm sorry.
sorry, go ahead, yeah.
Sure, every year, this is part of the budget
Yeah, yeah,
vote, and the board grants its authority to the director to make any personnel changes that are necessary during the year, so then we have to consistently come back to you. But during the personnel piece of the meeting, you always approve whatever the departures are.
Cool. All right, any additional questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote, Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. And item number 9, personnel, Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Secretary, and Director Shen. We have a number of items for your consideration on the EDIC agenda with the exact details included in the board memos. We have one status change in the Urban Design Division, Christina Rico from Senior Urban Designer 1 to Assistant Deputy Director of Design. We have 4 internships in the Director's Office, Avery DeBosi and Noah Kleiner. In the Office of General Counsel, Christopher Canino. In the Development Review Division, Rachel Christopher. We also have 4 contractors. In the Real Estate Division, Jason Tobin and Delaney Morris. In the Administration Division, Izzy Wagner. And in the Director's Office, Ty Lim. We also have 1 out-of-state travel request. And I answer any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote, Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you, Christina, for accepting the promotion. Welcome interns, and welcome to the contractors that are joining our team. We appreciate you, and good luck. With that, I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote, Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. We'll now start the next portion of the meeting. Thank you for joining the June 12th, 2025 Boston Redevelopment Authority Board meeting. At this time, the Boston Planning and Development Agency is hosting public meetings in a hybrid setting for both the health, safety, and accessibility of Boston residents. Hybrid means that our board meetings are conducted in person at City Hall, in our boardroom on the 9th floor, and virtually via Zoom and Boston City TV at the same time. For more information and updates, please visit bostonplans.org. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications at Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and Verizon Fios Channel 962. It's also being live streamed at boston.gov/cable. Now, if there's anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting, we ask that you please identify yourself now. Hearing and seeing none, let's begin the meeting by taking roll call. Mr. Shepherd.
Present.
Dr. Landsmark.
Present.
Mr. O'Malley.
Present?
And I, Priscilla Rojas, am right here. Item number 1 now, Counselor Durkin. Thank you for coming. I would like to give you the floor to, make whatever comments you want to.
Thank you so much. As the ancient BRA proverb says, if it's support, keep it short. So I will be short. My first, but it's not every day we get to permit a cancer hospital. So today I'm honored to be here as District 8 City Councilor representing the Longwood Medical Area. I'm speaking in strong support of a proposed cancer hospital at 1 Jocelyn Place. This project will allow Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to expand its life-saving care and pioneering research. I'll say they've taken public feedback very seriously. I have previously submitted testimony in support of the institutional master plans for both Dana-Farber and Beth Israel, which established the zoning for the site. Now with more details finalized and a clear plan for what will become a vital economic and health anchor, I'm proud to support tonight. And I'll just say that I think I want to say for the community's sake, through the determination of need process, Dana-Farber will direct $83 million with over $61 million directed towards local health priorities. The commitment's not just a number. As this process moves forward, it's essential that investment tied to this project reflects the real priorities of neighborhoods. What I've heard is good jobs, patient support like transportation, food, and in-home care, and meaningful opportunities for young people are some of the top things folks are looking for. The DON process will serve as a chance to meet all of these needs in a lasting way. I'm going to look forward to engaging in that process. I'm also really happy to hear and happy that this board memo includes $500,000 for Mission Hill and Fenway Community Centers. That's $350,000 for the Tobin Community Center and $150,000 for the Fenway Community Center, which my office and I fought for, which I know will improve the lives of daily of our residents. And I'd just like to thank the Longwood Collective for their partnership on this process. Their advocacy, comment letters, and meetings that they've taken have really made this project align with the goals of the Fenway Transportation Action Plan, which I know is still in a visioning phase. But the need to respond to loading and circulation needs of the corridor, they've been very key, and they've been a great partner with the City of Boston. So thank you to the Longwood Collective. The project includes long overdue improvements to Jocelyn Park and the adjacent intersection, reimagining the space that will better serve people who pass through it every day. This park redesign will require a series of regulatory approvals at both the city and state levels. I want to make it clear that I will be a partner and a champion throughout that process. Jocelyn Park deserves to be re-envisioned as a welcoming, accessible green space that reflects the care of the community that surrounds it. And you don't know that this park is going to matter to you until someone you know has cancer. For that reason, it needs to be a smoke-free space. Right now, it's ironic and painful that a park surrounding medical institutions remains smoking as the most active use. So we've got a lot of improvements to make. We know that cancer touches every single one of us. I've lost 2 people this year to cancer, so this is an incredibly meaningful moment for me to support this project. This project will be transformative, and I urge the board to support this today. My second letter, which I'll be very short, if it's support, be short. So I appreciate the thoughtful design of the Party School building. We've already seen how BU's architecture has already shaped our skyline. I think anyone who's been to the data sciences building knows that they build beautiful buildings. I want this building to be built. The Party School is going to be beautiful, and it's going to represent Boston and BU on a global stage. As District 8's counselor, I'm proud to support this. I want to make sure to thank Jake Sullivan, Kenny Ryan, and those from the government relations team who, when they showed me this project, I said, you know, for a beautiful and wonderful organization and institution, no one wants to build anything ugly, so I'm not going to comment on the design of this building, but I am going to comment on its use. We have an amazing opportunity to continue our global leadership through this particular building, and as the city councilor for the entirety of the Charles River campus, I'm proud to support BU's Party School tonight. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking me out of order.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Durkin. My condolences for your losses this year. And
Thank you.
Okay, item number, we're going to start the first item, actually. Request authorization for the approval of the executive session minutes of the May 15th, 2025 meeting, and for the approval of the regular session minutes of the May 15th, 2025 board meeting. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 2. Just gonna give Dr. Landsmark. Request authorization to schedule a public hearing on July 17th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. or at a date and time to be determined by the director to consider the proposed Northeastern University 2025 through 2035 institutional master plan and consider the 262 St. Botolph Street multipurpose athletic facility project as a development impact project. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Promoted.
So did I.
Do we Dr. Lansmark to come back in? But I'll just go ahead and read it. Yeah. Item number 3, request authorization to enter into a license agreement with the Community Music Center of Boston for the use of 3 vacant lots, AKA the Blair lots, identified as a portion of 1, 2, and 4 Palmer Street, 2180 through 2190 Washington Street, and 2148 Washington Street for the temporary laydown of materials and equipment associated with the demolition and construction of 2164 Washington Street, commencing June 12th, 2025, and ending November 2nd, 2026. Liz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, good afternoon. The BIA owns parcels of land in Nubian Square in Roxbury, commonly known as the Blair Lot. The Community Music Center of Boston is an arts education nonprofit founded in 1910 with a mission to transform lives by providing equitable access to excellent music education and arts experiences. Over 3,000 students of all ages, from preschool to seniors, participate in their programs every week. Community Music Center of Boston, or CMCB, has acquired 2164 Washington Street and initiated rehabilitation of the building. To support this work, CMCB seeks to enter into a license agreement to access and use portions of the Blair Lot that abuts their building. The licensed area will be used for temporary laydown of materials and equipment associated with the building's demolition and construction. The area requested is demonstrated in Exhibit B submitted with the board memo. Given CMCB's status of nonprofit organization and its ongoing contributions to the community, no fee is associated with the license agreement. BPDA staff is recommending entering into a license agreement with CMCB commencing June 12th through November 2nd, 2026. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Lansmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank
Thank you.
Item number 4, request authorization to extend the tentative designation status of Drexel Village LLC as developer of the Crescent parcel in the Nubian Square area of Roxbury, South End Urban Renewal Area for a period of 6 months through December 31st, 2025. Acquire 4 parcels of land owned by the City of Boston within the Crescent site, and the director to be authorized to co-petition the Public Improvement Commission for certain actions on the Crescent parcel and to take all related actions. Ben.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The BPDA board tentatively designated Drexel Village LLC to be the developer of the Crescent parcel in November 2021. Drexel Village LLC is an affiliate of the Planning Office of Urban Affairs Incorporated and J. Garland Enterprises LLC. The Crescent parcel is an approximately 73,000 square foot site composed of 8 parcels of vacant land. The property is located in both Campus High School and South End urban renewal areas. Drexel Village proposes an approximately 280,000 square foot development with 3 buildings with approximately 187 rental units, 30 homeownership units, and a community space for a daycare, amongst many other amenities. This whole development will be located on the Crescent parcel and the adjacent parcels owned by the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Boston. Since being granted tentative designation, the development team has made significant progress in furthering this development, including but not limited to receiving Article 80 and BCDC approval. During the requested 6-month extension, the development team is planning on furthering their evidence of funding, negotiating the long-term ground lease with our team, and receive Public Improvement Commission approval, which we will co-petition with them for. During this time, we also plan to work with the developer to consolidate the parcels to ease the legal, regulatory, and permitting processes. Having 8 different parcels creates additional complications that can cause an undue burden on the developer. Therefore, staff recommends extending their tentative designation for 6 months. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Lansmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Item number 5, request authorization to issue a request for qualifications for design services to complete a roof replacement at the China Trade Center located at 2 Boylston Street. Star.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. This is the first time that this matter has been brought before you, and it stems from the building system assessment at China Trade, and that you authorized in October of last year. As you know, China Trade building is a 6-story building located in downtown Chinatown Theater District. The current roof is 24 years old, and it's past its service of life, which is normally 20 years. When inspected as part of the assessment, we found that the roof was significantly compromised with clear signs of water infiltration beneath the roof membrane. We are requesting an authorization to advertise and issue a request for qualifications to procure a designer to plan for the roof replacement. The resulting design contract will be advertised with a not-to-exceed fee of $180,000, and we believe the subsequent construction improvements are currently budgeted in the range of $1.6 million and included in the FY26 budget presented earlier by Dylan. Thank you, and if you guys have any questions, I am happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, questions or comments from the board? Just have one quick one. Obviously, yeah, let's fix the roof. But what is our kind of like process? I know we did the assessment, right, on like the building and stuff, just ongoing processes to try and kind of monitor and maintain, just thoughts along
So
those
mainly
lines.
that is why we start with the assessments to triage what is the higher priority, and from there, there'll be other projects that will go before you, but this one was the most important one that needed to be addressed now, so there are more to come.
And that like just the cycle of the assessments, I'm just curious about like, do we do those on a regular basis or rotating? Do we have a system for that, or this is just, I'm just curious.
There is a system in place, I'm not sure,
What
I've
that
only
is,
been
that's okay.
here 3 years, but we did one for the EDIC 12 channel, and so then this
Yeah.
was the next phase, was the China Trade building. So I'm pretty sure William has something planned.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a rotation in there, but, all right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote, Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you, sir. Item number 6, request authorization to execute contracts with Daigle Electric Construction Corp., McKay Construction Services, Inc., Fleming Brothers, Inc., ACK Marine and General Contracting, LLC, Patrick J. Kennedy and Sons, Inc., M. Nevis, Inc., Hub Glass Services, High Rise Consolidated Services, JEWN Enterprise, Inc., and Premier Fence Custom and Design Fabricators for the general repairs and maintenance of services on an as-needed basis for BRA-owned properties in the annual aggregate amount not to exceed $800,000. Lauren.
This is the same RFP from the EDIC presentation. I'm happy to repeat it if you'd like.
No need unless there are questions or comments from the board. Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
Item number 7, request authorization to enter into an amended and restated land disposition agreement by and between the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency, and Matthew Wood in connection with parcel P13-A-2 in the Charlestown Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-55, also known as 58 through 58R Russell Street, and expand the boundaries of the LDA to include parcel P13-A-3 and allow for the construction of a patio and accessory dwelling unit. Scott.
Hi, actually, this is Max Houghton, Policy Specialist in the Director's Office, here to present this item. Thank you and good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Board, Secretary Palamas, and Director Shen. As stated, before you is a request to enter into an amended and restated land disposition agreement regarding the property located within the Charlestown Urban Renewal Plan area, parcel P13A2, located at 5858 Rear Russell Street. Based on the land disposition agreement dated July 25th, 1986, this property is to be used for, quote, landscaping and off-street parking and garden, end quote. The BRA issued a certificate of completion regarding this parcel in February 2017, certifying that the improvements on the property had been completed as required by the terms of said LDA. In 2024, the owner of the property reached out to BPDA staff to propose the construction of an addition to his property on parcels P13A2 and the adjacent P13A3, comprising a patio and accessory dwelling unit. BPDA urban design staff have reviewed the proposed plans, and a public meeting held on June 24th, 2024, affirmed that the community is in support of the proposed project. Considering the proposed project is consistent with the permitted uses as defined in the plan, the proposed project would not require a minor modification. In summary, the request today is for you to approve the BPDA to enter into an amended and restated land disposition agreement with the owner of 58 Russell Street to enable the construction of the proposed project. Thank you, and I can answer any questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing
Just a brief one. How many, obviously, this board has affirmed and reaffirmed our support of ADUs and is a great thing. Do we have any idea, ballpark, of how many ADUs have been built in the last several years?
That's a great question. I'm not certain as to the figure on that, but would be happy to.
Yeah, but won't put you on the spot. But would love to know that answer, and this is
Certainly.
great. So anything we do to encourage more of them. Thank you.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved. Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Item number 8, report on the Zoning Board of Appeal recommendations between January 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2025. Rachel, and if we could just remind people on the outside, it's not a cocktail party, it's a meeting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Get that quieted down for you, but yes, please, informational
Yes.
presentation.
Happy to give some context and happy to see you all again on this beautiful day. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen, and Secretary Polimis. My name is Rachel Elmkees, and I'm a planner 2 here on the zoning reform team. So I'm going to be presenting our quarterly report on the planning department recommendations to the Zoning Board of Appeal. And for some quick context, the Zoning Board of Appeal, or the ZBA, is a quasi-judicial body of 7 members appointed by the mayor that hears requests for conditional use permits, for variances, and similar zoning relief. While the ZBA is housed in the Inspectional Services Department, the Boston Planning Department provides non-binding recommendations to the ZBA for their consideration. When the board authorized the director to make these recommendations on behalf of the planning department, the board asked that planning staff present quarterly reports that summarize and highlight trends in the recommendations and in ZBA cases. This analysis fits in with the zoning reform team's ongoing efforts to update and modernize the zoning code so that it works as a regulatory tool, ultimately reducing reliance on the variance process at the ZBA. The department's full recommendation letters can be found online at our website at bostonplans.org. You're going to want to go to the zoning heading and then click on Zoning Board of Appeals and scroll all the way down. Next slide, please. So, 120 planning department recommendations were made in this quarter, so between January and March 2025. 50 were made for approval. 43 for approval with provisos, 21 for denial without prejudice, and 6 for denial. In terms of trends, as in previous quarters, what we've been seeing is that Planning Department design review is the most common proviso. So this really presents what we see as a potential area for improvement, because one reason for this trend could be a disconnect between what the planning department expects in plans and the plans that applicants are actually submitting. Next slide, please. So of the 106 ZBA decisions made over the quarter, 59 were approved, 43 were approved with proviso, 3 were denial without prejudice, 1 was withdrawn, and there were no denials. And as discussed in the full report, we've omitted deferrals here because a deferral just means that a decision hasn't happened yet. Next slide, please. So, just like we did with the Mattapan rezoning, we're going to touch on some early outcomes from the East Boston rezoning today, which became effective on May 1st, 2024. So there have been a number of updates made in East Boston. I'm just going to touch on a few here. So the consolidation of residential and waterfront subdistricts, the legalization of childcare, schools, and community centers across all residential subdistricts, more flexible dimensional standards to better match East Boston's existing buildings, added opportunities for mixed-use development near transit, as well as updated parking and loading requirements. Next slide, please. So in thinking about East Boston, there are three big trends that we've really been looking at. One is, as we outlined in the written report, we are seeing a modest decline in variance requests. That's a very good thing for folks who are looking to make routine repairs to their homes. The reason that we care about this is that variances are obviously only needed when the projects that people are proposing don't match the code. And so since we only very recently updated the code, we would expect this number to decline over time because the new zoning should be lessening the need for zoning relief. So a second big trend is that is the rate of by right development in this area. So since the rezoning and as of reviewing the data today, there has yet to be a single permitted by right new construction project. So to be clear, there are lots of potential reasons for that. For instance, there has been a lot of economic uncertainty that could impact financing, but this is something that we want to continue to look at. And for non-Article 80 projects, some good news, we are seeing that median time to permitting has dropped by 41% since rezoning in East Boston, from 111 days to 66 days to get a permit. So setting some of these larger trends aside for a moment, I want to talk about how the new zoning is playing out a little bit in real life. On Neptune Circle, one homeowner was able to benefit from updated zoning with an addition that added floor area without triggering the need for zoning relief. The addition included a new bedroom, a family room, an additional bathroom, and a laundry room. The project was by right, so they didn't have to go through the zoning relief process at all, and the owner received their permit in just 49 days. A second by right project on Bremen Street resulted in a new child care center on the ground floor of a mixed-use building in the new EBR4 district. It was permitted in 21 days and made possible by a previous reform to the code that legalized child care uses across the vast majority of the city, as well as East Boston reforms to better align dimensional requirements with existing buildings. Next slide, please. So we have a couple of items coming up for your consideration. We have an East Boston report that's going to be a little bit more detailed coming out later this month. The zoning reform impact tracker, the citywide release is going to be happening later this month on Analyze Boston, which is the city's open data portal. And as a reminder, the tracker is a data set of about 40,000 building permit applications for the whole city that updates daily and that allows comparison of development happening in the same area before and after the rezoning occurs. I've also started a project with the citywide analytics team to automate certain zoning performance statistics over the next quarter. So I'm looking to pull in violations and some other metrics for zoning districts that are currently being rezoned to help identify any low-hanging fruit that can be incorporated into new zoning as it's being drafted to help continue to reduce the need for zoning relief. And you all may have seen in your report, we are requesting moving to a twice-a-year cadence for these reports, just to allow for a little bit more time for longitudinal data analysis. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions now, and thank you all so much for your time.
Okay, questions or comments from the board? It's just informational updates. We don't have to vote, but
I just want to underscore something you said, Rachel. I think it is so gratifying as a lifelong Bostonian, someone who spent quite a bit of time in this building, to see the measurable impact on zoning reform. Something this administration has done well, something this board has affirmed. It is beyond frustrating that there are many, many examples where a developer could build 9 units as of right, but someone who's putting a dormer on their home or putting a deck would have to go through a much more arduous process. So anything we can do to streamline that, I think you proved the East Boston case study was a great example of that. Job well done, and
Thank
keep
you
it
so
up.
much. Thank you.
Through the chair. Yes, I agree. My cup of coffee with ZBA. I just,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's where you came from.
cup of coffee though. But with that being said, it's always great just to see improvement and thoughts of improvement. So continue on and good work so far.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, just want to echo that. Quick question, because I did not come from the ZBA. Remind me what denied without prejudice means?
It means they can come back and try again.
Okay, okay.
To your fault.
Okay, yeah. There's only so much that fits in the brain. Okay, so again, yeah, amazing. I love the transparency. Big fan of data analytics and science and all of that. And I'm very supportive of the cadence. You need time to collect those trends. And I think this, again, just wonderful.
Thank you all so much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9. Request authorization to issue a certificate of completion for the successful completion of 51 Melcher Street building in the South Boston waterfront neighborhood in accordance with Section C.4 of the amended and restated cooperation agreement by and between the Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency and GIETS Fort.1 LLC dated June 14th, 2023. It is a certificate of completion, no presentation. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 10, request authorization to issue a certificate of completion for the successful completion of 1515 Commonwealth Avenue building in the Brighton neighborhood in accordance with Section C.4 of the cooperation agreement by and between the Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency and DIV 1515 Commonwealth LLC dated March 31st, 2022. Completion, no presentation. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 11, requests authorization to issue a partial certificate of completion for the successful completion of the Building 1 project located at 143 Washington Street, AKA 139 through 149 Washington Street in the Brighton neighborhood in accordance with Section C.4 of the cooperation agreement by and between the Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency and Avalon Bay Communities dated March 22nd, 2021. Certificate of completion, no presentation. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 12, request authorization to amend what are we amending here? Amend a previously issued authorization and issue a scoping determination waiving further review pursuant to Article 80B-5.3D of the zoning code for the 155 North Beacon Street project. Zoe.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Chief Shen, and Secretary Polhemus. My name is Zoe Schutte. I'm a project manager in development review. The 155 North Beacon Street project is a life science and retail project in Brighton that was previously approved by the BPDA board on June 15, 2023. The 2023 vote incorrectly authorized the director to issue a preliminary adequacy determination waiving further review instead of a scoping determination waiving further review under Article 80B. Tonight's vote is just requesting to amend that vote to correct the Scrivener's error in the previous approval. The slide before you highlights some of the project's contributions, and no changes to the project are proposed at this time. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 13, request authorization to enter into an affordable housing agreement for the proposed creation of 2 on-site inclusionary development home ownership units located at 84 through 86 Park Street and to take all related actions. Andy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Shen, Secretary Polhemus, and members of the board. I'm Andy Feldman, Housing Policy Manager with the Mayor's Office of Housing. Tonight, I'm here to request your vote on an affordable housing agreement for the proposed development at 84 to 86 Park Street in Dorchester. This development proposes to build 14 condos, and while it did not trigger Article 80 due to its size, the inclusionary development policy applies to the project as it is 10 or more units. Therefore, the vote in front of you tonight will allow the agency to enter into an agreement to dedicate 2 units under the IDP. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Item number 14, request authorization to enter into an amended and restated affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the property located at 734 Dudley Street and take all related actions. Andy?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board, Secretary Polhemus and Director Shen. The proposal before you is to authorize the BPDA to enter into an amended and restated affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the board-approved Article 80E small project at 734 Dudley Street in Dorchester. In January 2023, the board approved a notice of project change to increase the density for this project. The approved NPC authorized the construction of a 6-story, 25-unit residential rental building with 4 IDP units, representing 16% of the total units in the building. As the project is nearing its completion, the proponent reached out to the planning department expressing concern that, due to inflationary pressures on construction and rising interest rates, the project would not be economically viable after opening. After a thorough review of the project financials, the planning department, in consultation with the Mayor's Office of Housing, agreed to reduce the IDP commitment for this project to ensure the building is able to open and provide much-needed market rate and affordable housing. The revised IDP commitment reduces the number of IDP units from 4 to 3, while adding a partial unit payment of $50,000, which achieves a total IDP commitment of 13% of the total units as required by the policy. Thank you. This concludes the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Item number 15, request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed development located at 295 through 297 Franklin Street. Authorize the director to enter into a pilot agreement for the proposed project and authorize the director to accept a quitclaim deed for a certain temporary limited property interest in the project site and to take all related actions. Zoe.
Thank you. Hi again, and good afternoon. I am here before you to present an applicant of Mayor Wu's downtown office to residential conversion program. The proposed Article 80E small project located at 295 Franklin Street in the downtown neighborhood of Boston, and the proposed 121B agreement to effectuate the downtown residential conversion incentive pilot program. On July 26, 2024, Franklin Holdings Group LLC applied to Mayor Wu's and the BPDA's Downtown Residential Conversion Incentive Pilot Program. The pilot program was authorized by the BPDA Board on October 12, 2023, and offers to approved applicants a tax abatement in exchange for converting their underutilized office building into multifamily residential rental units. The October board vote authorized the creation of a demonstration project plan area in downtown Boston, where the BPDA is able to act pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 121B, and provide a contract payment in lieu of taxes pursuant to Chapter 121B. Based on BPDA's staff review under Article 80 and review under the pilot program, the proponent has been selected to receive a pilot agreement based on the pilot program criteria. The proponent will, upon approval by the BPDA board, enter into a pilot agreement among the City of Boston and the BPDA. If approved today, the city and the BPDA will provide the proposed project an average tax abatement of up to 75% of the assessed residential value for a term of 29 years, terms which are consistent with the October board vote. In order to comply with the rules and regulations under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 121B, Section 16, the BPDA must take an interest in the project site. To effectuate that, the BPDA and the owner of 295 Franklin Street will enter into a deed agreement which conveys limited rights in the 295 Franklin Street property. Additionally, the owner and the BPDA will enter into an indemnification agreement to ensure the BPDA does not have liability on the property. On April 7th, 2025, the BPDA received a small project review application from the proponent. The BPDA hosted a virtual public meeting on May 21st, and the public meeting was advertised in the local newspapers and was posted on the planning department's calendar and sent to the downtown neighborhood distribution lists. The comment period ended on June 1st, 2025. The site includes approximately 2,430 square feet of land located at 295 to 297 Franklin Street. And we can go to the next slide. There's a few additional content slides. In downtown Boston, The project site is currently occupied by an existing underutilized 5-story mixed-use retail and office building. And the project proposes the adaptive reuse of the existing building from a commercial and office use for residential apartments and ground floor retail, consisting of approximately 14,580 square feet of gross floor area. Next slide, please. And next slide. And the project will provide 744 square feet of ground floor retail in 18 new dwelling units on floors 1 through 5. The following few slides provide a few elevation details. The unit mix will be comprised of 13 studio units, 5 one-bedroom units, and 5 one-bedroom units, sorry. The project will also include approximately 15 internal bike parking spaces, and the project is also in compliance with the inclusionary zoning requirements, providing 3 income-restricted units. And thank you. That concludes the presentation. There are a few additional slides, and the proponent team is available to answer any questions the board may have related to the project or any typical floor plans. Thank you.
So proponent team is here?
Yes.
Come on up. Talk to us.
She did the presentation. They're
No, I
just here
just
for
wanted to ask a
questions.
question.
Okay.
I just want to ask a question. So just, just for context, so obviously we are a big fan of this, well, no, I'm a big fan of this program, let me do that. So just wanted to get a sense of, what made you kind of answer the call? Why did you, just give me a little bit of the why.
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chair, and through to the members, Secretary Polimus and Director Shen. For the record, my name is Richard Linz. I'm an attorney representing the project team. With me is John Williams with DMS Design. Our client had acquired this building maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, and certainly has faced some challenges with trying to make the occupancy work with the building. When they learned about the office to residential conversion program, certainly the incentives that go with that, that was something that certainly made it much more attractive to try to take a look at that. So that's really what the genesis behind this was, and I want to thank Zoe and John. The team has been great to work with. This project certainly has moved very quickly, and we appreciate all the assistance and guidance that staff has provided us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair. Definitely a great program. I'm glad to see that this building fits the script, especially having it for 5 or 6 years, and then, with office work slowing down, office renovation, things like that slowing down. Now you're able to transform into a residential, which is great. Do you see any timetable for construction as far as this?
Yes, I believe with respect to the agreement that we have to enter into, it has to be completed by, I believe we said by December of '26. So we do have a window to get it done. I know that there's a little bit of permitting that remains post-approval, but should be relatively quick. And I understand that ISD will give us a fast track as well.
So if there's when does that clock start as far as from the process you're at? When does the clock start?
Yeah, I believe that we would likely be through the inspectional services construction.
I mean, as far as
I'm sorry about that.
Through the city, if you're allowed a certain amount of time, when does that start and how long is that?
I apologize not having that specific date. I believe it's almost immediate, but it's more of a deadline by December of 2026. That's from the pilot agreement that I've seen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments?
Is a restaurant on the ground floor?
So the space, through the chair, the space, Mr. Landsmark, is about 740 square feet, maybe a bit small for a restaurant, including there's not a lot of room for back of the house. We do incorporate some of the residential units on the lower level, so it would probably be something a little bit less than a restaurant. I'm thinking maybe professional office, small retail, but probably not large enough to be a restaurant.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions or comments, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley? Oh, no, he's not here. It's in, and the chair votes aye, so that's enough.
Thank you very much.
The
Much
motion
appreciate it.
passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck. Item number 16, request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed development located at 12 Post Office Square and 10 Liberty Square, and to authorize the director to enter into a pilot agreement for the proposed project, to authorize the director to accept a quitclaim deed for certain temporary limited property interest in the project site, and to take all related actions. Dylan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Chief Shen, and Secretary Polhemus. My name is Dylan Norris, and I am a project manager with the Development Review Division of the Planning Department. I'm here before you today to present another applicant of the Downtown Office to Residential Conversion Program, which is the proposed Article 80E small project located at 12 Post Office Square in the downtown neighborhood of Boston, as well as the proposed 121B agreement, which is needed to effectuate the Downtown Residential Conversion Incentive Pilot Program. On February 11th, 2025, 12 Post Office Square LLC applied to Mayor Wu and the BPDA's Downtown Residential Incentive Pilot Program. The pilot was authorized by this board on October 12th, 2023, and offers the approved applicants a tax abatement in exchange for converting their underutilized office into multifamily residential rental units. The October board vote authorized the creation of a demonstration project plan area in downtown where the BPDA is able to act pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 121B, and provide a contract for a payment in lieu of taxes pursuant to Chapter 121B. Based on BPDA staff review under Article 80 and the pilot program, this proponent has been selected to receive a pilot agreement based on the program criteria. The proponent will, upon approval by the BPDA board, enter into a pilot agreement among the City of Boston and the BPDA. If approved today, the city and the BPDA will provide the proposed project an average tax abatement of up to 75% of the assessed residential value for a term of 29 years, which is consistent with the October board vote. In order to comply with the rules and regulations of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 121B, Section 16, the BPDA must take an interest in the project site. To effectuate that, the BPDA and the owner of 12 Post Office Square will enter into a deed agreement which conveys limited rights in the 12 Post Office property. Additionally, the owner and the BPDA will enter into an indemnification agreement to ensure the BPDA has no liability on said property. On May 2nd, 2025, the BPDA and the Planning Department received a small project review application. The BPDA then hosted a virtual public meeting on June 5th, 2025, which was well attended and well received. The public meeting was advertised in local newspapers and notice posted to the BPDA's calendar and sent to the downtown neighborhood distribution list. The comment period closed for the small project review application on June 2nd. You can go to the next slide. If you want to go one more, sorry. The site context includes approximately 9,349 square feet, comprising 2 parcels of land with an existing 6-story commercial building located on 10 Liberty and 12 Post Office Square. The existing buildings on the project site are historically significant Hornblower and Weeks building, constructed in 1907, and 12 Post Office Square, and the Codman building, constructed in 1873 at 10 Liberty Square. You can go to the next slide. The proposed project proposes the conversion of 2 adjoining 6-story buildings from their current commercial and retail uses to 70 new dwelling units on floors 2 through 6, creating a new net residential total of 46,723 feet. The project will include 70 rental units with 55 studios and 15 one-bedroom units. The proposed project also will include a 70 bike parking spaces in the basement. The project is also in compliance with inclusionary zoning requirements with 12 income-restricted rental units. Thank you, and that concludes the presentation. The proponent team is available to answer any questions the board may have related to the project or review the typical floor plans. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I would love to see a floor plan and just hear a little bit about kind of what are some of the, the biggest construction challenges is just my curiosity of these conversions. Like, how do you make this into 70 units?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen. My name is George Moranci. I'm the zoning attorney for the project. The architects for the project, Monty French Design Studios, are present via Zoom. Monty French is here, and also Alex Yu, and I represent the developers. So I believe that they are connected and ready to present, and they can walk the board through exactly how the building does get converted from its present commercial office use and some retail to mixed use, predominantly residential, which is the proposal. Alex or Monty, I believe you're there.
I just promoted Alex. So
Okay,
he should
great.
be able to join.
Thank you.
Hi, Alex.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Alex Sina. I'm an architect at Monty French Design Studio. Is there anything in particular you'd like me to start with first, or?
More of just kind of just curious, just like high level, 5 minutes, like how do you make this 70 units from what it is now? Just super.
Okay, so I will try to keep it high level. I think the first thing is, I'm sure there's been a lot of discussion about the adaptability of the existing buildings. A lot of it has to do with the depth of the floor plate. This one, as you can see, it's very long, very narrow, which actually has is its own challenges, but it's not a deep building. A lot of these office conversions, the challenge is to work with buildings that are quite deep, so that you have trouble getting light into the deepest portions of the building. But with this building in particular, because of its narrowness, we have plenty of light and window access, and so that lends itself readily adaptable to housing. The next comment is really we're looking at existing infrastructure. So looking at do we have the requisite essentially 2 stairs and elevators in the building. Trying to add new vertical circulation is incredibly difficult in these existing buildings and very costly, and that can quickly kind of debilitate kind of pro formas in that regard. The other component is structure. We've taken a look at the structure. These are actually 2 separate buildings with 2 separate structures, but we believe there's minimal modification that is needed to make the structure work. And so that's another plus for the building. Because again, you can see these floor plates were really for office buildings, so really quite wide open with minimal plumbing, but now we are proposing to add a lot of plumbing and vertical penetrations that can quickly add up in cost.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of main points that we look at as architects with proponents and developers in determining feasibility for these conversions.
Awesome. No, thank you.
And then again, the last component is, how is the building in good shape? And these 2 buildings are in great shape. The character and the historic charm they're all there. The exterior is in exquisite condition. And I believe we had a couple of renderings near the end. If we could go to the end of the presentation. So we're proposing a light touch, again, with the exterior because it's in such good shape. Plenty of windows for the units to take advantage of. And I believe actually maybe the renderings did not make it into this presentation, but we are proposing some new exterior lighting that will really kind of accentuate and highlight some of the detail that you see here with the capitals, the dentals, the cornices, all the pedimented windows and whatnot, especially in this area that is a little bit darker because it's not particularly a residential area to begin with.
Sure. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you hopping on and doing that. Any other questions or comments from the board?
That's why, through the chair, I
Yeah.
asked the last proponent. It takes a certain building to be able to convert it over, a certain type of building. So, like I said, it's beautiful, and I hope as many buildings can take advantage of it to keep these buildings occupied. So, thank you.
Yeah, it's been gratifying to me. This is, I've now been on the board a year. In the last several meetings, we seem to see more and more of these conversions, and it makes perfect sense. The world has changed over the last 5 years. We have this vacancy. And the benefit, obviously, it's needed housing, needed affordable units, so appreciate that commitment. But the ancillary benefits, it's going to help restaurants. It's going to help stores. I remember when Roach Brothers came to Downtown Crossing, that was seen as a leap of faith, for a company. So I love this area. I envy the families and the individuals who will be living right overlooking the little park there. It's great. So happy to support it.
Makes me want to move back down here. No, but I love Mattapan. So, go ahead.
What do you imagine is the market for this many studios?
Dr. Landsmark, I think the market is sort of people who want to be in the downtown, who want to enjoy that livability, the thriving nature of living in the heart of the downtown area, who might otherwise, that might not be an affordable option for them, given what downtown rents are going for. I think new construction projects in the downtown, luxury buildings with larger units that are quite expensive. I think this is a great opportunity for people who don't need a lot of space, but would love to be, again, in the heart of the thriving downtown. And it gives them an ability to live in a location where they very frankly, might otherwise not be able to afford to live there. So I think there'd be a lot of people, as Member O'Malley said, I'm almost envious myself, to be a younger person with this sort of availability for me in the downtown, which hasn't been there before, this location in particular. I think it's an exciting opportunity for people who never imagined that they would be able to live there.
Yeah, and I was like in that IKEA showroom maze the other day, and it's amazing what you can do with like however many square feet these studios are. There's just so much, stuff out there, and these are great buildings. Anyway, any other additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very
Have a
much.
good day.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, Alex. Okay, so the next 4 items are going to be presented jointly, but they're voted on separately. So I'm going to read them all together, and then at the end, we'll vote on them separately, and I'll read them again. So this is item number 17, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 16 IDP residential rental units located at 85 Devonshire Street and to take all related actions. Item number 18, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 6 IDP residential rental units located at 4 Liberty Square and to take all related actions. Item number 19, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 4 IDP residential rental units located at 615 Albany Street and to take all related actions. Item number 20, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 4 IDP residential rental units located at 129 Portland Street and to take all related actions. John.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Chief Shen, and Secretary Pohemus. My name is John Weil. I'm Senior Program Manager for Downtown Conversions at the Planning Department. I oversee the Office of Residential Conversion Program. We seek board approval to update the affordable housing provisions for 4 existing office to residential conversion projects to conform with inclusionary zoning. The 4 projects impacted in this requested vote are 85 Devonshire Street, 615 Albany Street, 129 Portland Street, and 4 Liberty Square. We initially came before the board with these 4 projects prior to the adoption of IZ, with the understanding that to be in compliance with inclusionary zoning, they were required to meet the full Article 80 large project threshold of 20%, which is 17% at 60% AMI, plus 3% voucher set-asides. Because these projects are in fact meet small project threshold under the zoning code, we're requesting to update the projects to conform with small project IZ requirement of 17%. This would result in removing 6 voucher set-asides in total. The program to date has received 15 applications to convert 20 buildings, creating 762 units of housing, including 139 affordable units. From these applications, over 500 units have already been approved by the board. Thank you for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Questions or comments? Okay, so I'm going to read each one. We're going to vote on each one. Item number 17 is the vote on the table, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 16 IDP residential rental units located at 85 Devonshire Street and to take all related action. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 18, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 6 IDP residential rental units located at 4 Liberty Square and to take all related actions. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 19, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 4 IDP residential rental units located at 615 Albany Street and to take all related actions. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 20, request authorization to execute an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the creation of 4 IDP residential rental units located at 129 Portland Street to take all related actions. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Wow, thank you so much.
Okay, here we go. Oh, no, it's a budget, so that was we're gonna vote on it again, and I'm gonna read it.
Right, so.
We did the presentation already.
Correct.
So, item number 23, request approval of the fiscal year 2026 operating budget of the Boston Redevelopment Authority and the expense amount of $24,678,687 and approval for the fiscal year 2026 capital expenditures amount of $5,800,000. To approval of the transfer of funds and forgiveness of interagency debt between the BRA and the Economic and Industrial Corporation of Boston, the Boston Local Development Corporation, and the Boston Industrial Development Finance Authority. Approval to enter into any sublease for space, sublease amendments, or extensions. Authorization to take actions and execute documents and agreements relating to the transfer in and expenditure or transfer of funds out of the Capital Reserve Fund. Dylan, just say it was the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Same as before.
This is the same as
Yeah,
before.
Yeah. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd. Dr. Lancemark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Item number 24. Request authorization to authorize to submit applications to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development MassWorks Infrastructure Program and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities Housing Works Infrastructure Program in support of various projects in the city of Boston, and to enter into a grant agreement with respective development entities and proponents of said projects for the use of funds from the MassWorks and Housing Works Infrastructure Program. Amina.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen, and Madam Secretary. This is the same memo that went before you in May. We are just looking to add an additional project for Faneuil Gardens in Brighton, and everything is in the packet with you.
Perfect. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Dr. Lancemark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. That last one, where I read so much, it just kind of. All right. Okay. Item number 25, contractual payments. I need a motion to pay the bills.
I move that we pay our bills.
Second that.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Dr. Lancemark.
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Please pay the bills. And that is the end of our agenda before the public hearing. So public hearings start at 5:30. So we will take a break and come back at 5:30 for the last few items on the agenda. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.